Hey friends, welcome in. It's that time of the year again where we hang out with me and Bogle hang out with Save and tell you all about what we're raising money for this weekend. Really loving the event. You guys are so freaking fantastic.
Fantastic.
It's been so amazing. Everybody's been so prepared and loving the game and making an immense effort to get through some of the harder parts. It's been real inspiring to see. And then we just crossed 10K. Woo, which is great. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
This is the first year that we beat a second game.
Yes.
And not only that, we're in the fourth game.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a monumental year.
For sure.
We're breaking records left and right. This is wonderful.
Absolutely.
Also, the first year that we've all been in the same room.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very
Incredibly
cool.
exciting. Thanks, Eric Mishay, for making that happen.
Well, thank you guys. This has been amazing. I was thrilled to be able to be here with you. It's been an incredible couple of days. We're in the last 12 hours? We're kind of heading into somewhat of the home stretch here.
Yeah.
Thrilled to have Jen with us. Jen arrived last night. So this is great for us to be able to be here with you all. This is really a privilege and an opportunity for us to see the incredible hard work that you all and your entire team has put together, and all the streamers who've been involved with this. I have watched a lot of the streamers. I'd be lying if I said I've watched all of them. I had to get a little bit of sleep. But the energy and the passion that every streamer has had during their hour has been absolutely remarkable. It really is a gift to Save and the work that we're trying to do.
Yeah, it's an incredible privilege to be here and see this in person. I'm not a streamer myself. I don't do a lot of gaming, but it's really cool to see the community and the connectedness here. And that's a big part of mental health and suicide prevention. So yeah, really cool to be here in person and be a part of this.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
So what we're going to be doing is a little bit different than previous years, since we actually have the opportunity to be in one place all together. We're actually all standing in the same room, which is blowing my mind. It's amazing. I love it so much. So we're going to be using a totally different mic setup. Things may go wrong, but I think I got it just right. And we have monitors around the room to field questions from chat, which my wife, like an Apple, will be grabbing and sending to us. So probably more chat questions at the end, unless something's super relevant. But otherwise, this is just going to be a pretty casual conversation.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Fun. For sure.
Do we want to first, a couple of really quick things before we get into questions. So one, I want to convey to all of you on behalf of our Save board of directors who are really excited about this event. They've also collectively come together and are going to make a gift of $2,000 to this event in the hopes that before the end of the event, we get to $15,000. So That'll be kind of a milestone.
Yes.
So I want to bring that news to you and let you know that everyone who's on our board of directors really, really thrilled to be associated with this event. And then I'm going to make a $500 challenge here for this hour, that if we raise $500, I'll donate $500, and then I'll also sing the national anthem. So that should motivate everybody. Because if you have not heard the remarkable operatic voice that I have, this is your one opportunity to be able to do that.
Wonderful.
So there's a little kind of incentive there for people.
So just to reiterate, we need to get to 15K before the end of the event.
Yep.
That's a challenge. And then the board, Save's board, will donate $2,000.
Yep, you got it.
Wonderful. That's so exciting. That is going to get us over a lot of cool milestones. And then this hour, people, $500. Mishy, Eric will match that, and we get to
hear me sing.
Someone's asking what country.
Very good question.
Good question.
You didn't specify, so
That's right.
this is your opportunity.
Yeah, Bogle's going to teach me how to do the Dutch
one.
national anthem.
I will be completely honest. I'm not sure I know the Dutch one.
And you can make it up. It'll be wonderful.
Yeah, even though we are this close to the Canadian border, I'll stick to the U.S. national anthem. So
sounds good.
Fun fact: my senior year of high school, one of the gifts of my soccer team, one of the gifts they got me was a laminated lyrics of the national anthem. Because when we'd go sing it every soccer game, I would always screw it up. So
Well,
I didn't
Vogel's
bring
got
it
it
here
pulled
today.
up on his
Okay, good.
laptop, so if I have to sing it, I won't.
Oh no, you don't say that. You don't say that, and you wow them with your memories. We have nothing up here. There's no.
Yeah, there's no laptops.
No, I don't know what you're talking about. Let me just not read this.
All right.
So thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely.
We can start talking about some of the stuff that we want to talk about. And let's start with like a short introduction about what you do specifically for Save, and just tell us about Save and its mission.
So why don't you talk about what you do with
Sure.
Save, and then we'll talk a little bit about the mission.
Yeah, so I'm the director of programs at Save, and really my job is to make sure that all of our programming gets implemented into our communities. Everything runs smoothly. We're evaluating that. We're evaluating the impact of our programs. So that's my my day-to-day job, yeah.
So just about every program that Save has Jen's fingerprints on it. And so Jen
For better or
really,
for worse.
well, I mean, the important part of, when you ask the question about what is Save, right? At its core, Save is about its mission and it's about its work. Mm-hmm. And so our mission is really rooted in the principle of education and awareness, suicide prevention, and supporting suicide loss survivors. We kind of building that on what we call our 4 pillars as we move forward into 2024 and beyond. And those 4 pillars are education, training, advocacy, and support for suicide loss survivors. And so as we look at our future and we look at where we're going to spend our time and attention, it really is to focus on a much more aggressive kind of grassroots approach to this kind of work. We are fortunate enough to be in an environment where there's a lot of organizations out there doing really important work in the area of suicide prevention. And what we want to be able to do is to support the work that they're doing in those areas where we believe they can do it better than us, and ask for them to help support us in those areas where we think we have the ability to make an impact that is sustainable.
That's a really important thing in almost any field, especially in like the medical and mental health field. I've always felt like people in those professions don't communicate, and they're always, contradicting each other. And so I'm really impressed that you guys are willing to do that. And hopefully other people are willing to work with you on that.
Well, I think so. I mean, you've had lots of conversations with
Yeah.
folks that we've been working with.
Yeah, we're having lots of conversations with groups in our community that are doing great work. The VA, folks who work with LGBTQ. We at Save, we don't have to be the experts in those areas, but what we can do is be an amplifier of those voices and that work that's already being done. So that's sort of one of the new directions of Save that we're focusing on, is where can we find those collaborative opportunities to get to amplify the great work that's already been done, and not recreating the wheel or recreating tools that are already out there.
I think that's amazing, and I think we've talked about this on some of your live streams and in private. We've talked about these things, and I think it is very exciting to us as well, because it fits really well with how we organize this event and how we think about these things. So the match, it really clicks, and I appreciate that very much.
Yeah.
Well, and let me just say this, is that a lot of that focus and energy really was driven by the vision of the board of directors, which met April or May of last year, and really talked about an approach that they wanted to be more heartfelt, to feel as though it was kind of less corporate, and to really root it in this kind of grassroots approach to how can we find more partnerships, how can we develop more collaborations, and how can we be more accessible to kind of the average person on the street.
That's something that's been a very obvious transition to us working with you guys, because we have a very real partnership with you this year, which has been amazing. And I like to think that we've been helping each other along for this year, and of course into the future, but it really shows.
Sure.
It really
It
shows.
is. I mean, we've always been very excited to work with Save and do this event for Save, but this year has been an immense game changer. And I think people notice that as well in the team of participating streamers and stuff like that.
Yeah, we'd sit around our office, right? We talk about just the whole staff, the folks that have worked with us on the social media stuff at the Social Collective, our board. This really is an important event for this organization. And so for us to be able to be a part of it, to learn from it, to get to know you guys, right? To get to know everybody who's associated with this, this really feels right for us, because it really aligns with where we think our future lies.
Yeah, and if people aren't following save.org on social media, you really should, because like the videos that you've been making, besides being hilarious, also show, well, in a good way. I'm not trying to make fun of you. They're just really funny.
There was like an undertone to that.
Well, no,
He's Dutch. It's fine.
They're intended to be funny, and they are. But my
Yeah.
point is that I think that is very inspiring and like really gets a lot of the participating streamers going, and at least for me as well, because there can be this element of like, oh, this is just some corporate entity, right? And it is wonderful to put faces to that.
They've helped put a face to almost everybody in the event, as far as I know, because you guys developed these cards that had
Yes.
different streamers on them, and they've been sharing them to their social media for the past month. So yeah, absolutely, you guys should be following them on social media.
Yeah, and we've been sharing those cards as well, and I do want to give Eric credit for that, because that was one of the first things that we talked about.
Yep.
In like when we met online. That was one of your ideas, and I really love those, and I can already think of things how we want to build on that,
Yeah,
and it's
absolutely.
it's wonderful.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do we have our save handles for our social media channels? Can we put that in the chat?
One of my moderators sure can grab those.
Most of them, I think, are just at Save Voices of EDU.
Yes. And also on most social media channels, if you're following Save&Raid, we're also following Save, so you can look at that. So but there will be people posting stuff in chat for sure.
Yeah, that's to me the lowest hanging fruit here to get involved with Save, see what we're up to, keep up with our events, our new programming. Just a great way to keep up with us and what
And
we're
we have
doing.
a new website. When
Yeah,
is
we
it?
we're dropping a new website in about a month. We're so excited. We're so
that's
thrilled.
great.
We think it's going to just much better reflect who we are as an organization now and into the future. So we can't wait for that. It's been a lot of work. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears have gone into it, but we're getting there. Couple weeks. Yeah, look for that.
I'm sure that there's about 100+ nerds that are very excited to look at that site and then tell you what is.
What's wrong with it? Okay, we'll take the feedback. Just be gentle, okay?
Yeah, be nice about it.
I'm not a tech person, so just be gentle with me. Or I'll just give you the direct
Jen's
contact of our...
done a great job on it.
No, that's very exciting. We're actually getting to what is honestly my personal favorite question every year that we ask of Save, because it's so relevant to this event. We do this event now for 4 years, and we've raised, not counting this year, we've raised a little over $32,000 for Save. And one of the things that people ask us, and we basically tell them, wait and show up for this one, because this is what we're talking about. Like, what does Save do with these proceeds? For our event and other events that people do for you? Like, what happens? What actual practical thing happens with that money?
Yeah, and I think that's a great question, and it's something that if you're a donor, whether you're donating to this event, you're donating to some other event. So let's talk about specifically even with this event, right? So one of the things that we're doing this year that we haven't done before is we're making access to our One Step Ahead training program available not just to the folks that are streaming, but to anybody that's watching that stream. To host that site costs us money. So these funds help to cover the cost of the access to that server. As you look at things like printed collateral materials, you think things like the website, right? All of those things, as far as programming goes, that's where these types of dollars go to. Even as we look at our current collateral materials, I think we've talked about this. So we are literally rewriting virtually every one of our printed collateral materials. We've had to hire a copywriter who's been working with Jen so that we can update those, make them more current, use text that I think is more kind of in tune with kind of what the kind of how you should be using language.
Yeah, making them more accessible and tailored to specific groups and audiences is another key piece of that. Yeah, we can lay the foundation with, general basic knowledge, but also we want to leave space for different communities to kind of make those materials make sense for their communities and where they're at with mental health and suicide prevention, because we're not all in the same place when we talk about, smaller community groups.
Both in terms of communication, but also suicide risks, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Right? We're not all the same, and what works for some doesn't work for others.
Right.
That's wonderful.
Yes, yes. Especially if we're talking like cultural backgrounds.
Yes,
you know,
sure.
we need to start tailoring interventions to different cultures, languages, those types of things are really important.
I mean, one of the things, again, I will be, very candid with you about is that, one of the new features of kind of our focus moving forward is we've dropped this practice of charging people for access to our materials. And so whether it's collateral materials and things like that, we've got little wallet cards and things like that. And so those, we believe our donors' intention was for us to develop those and then to make those accessible to everybody, right? And so we want to make that ubiquitous. We want to kind of spread it around like confetti. And so that's a new feature of how we're moving forward, is to make those resources available for free. And then if you look at, and we'll talk about this a little later, the Green Bandana Project, right? That particular program, which is focused on college campuses right now, that's another place where those funds go to help in the development of the program, to help in the development of the materials that we provide to the college campuses. So our goal is to plow as much of those dollars back into program development as we possibly can, and to reduce our overall overhead administrative costs with that. The reality is we also still got to pay our staff.
We would want you to.
Right.
Yeah.
So, so you got to pay staff, you got to keep the lights on. So there is a portion of that clearly goes to administrative overhead, that goes to helping to pay the staff and their benefits. But our hope and our goal is to always to make sure that we're plowing as much of that money back into program development, and then to making those programs available to people, because that's what our donors really want us to do.
Yeah, and Eric has done a great job since he's been with Save at finding partners to keep costs low, whether that's printing partners, whoever else can help us really, utilize those donor dollars the best way we can. So that's been really great.
Very cool.
I think we have a question up on the screen here.
Yes, that's a good one.
Are there digital resource cards available that we could use in streams and on Discord?
So with all of our educational materials, we'll be doing print versions, and then of course they'll be available probably at first just via PDF. Maybe some more fancy technology in the future, but they will be available digitally.
Nice. Yeah, and if you want to get prepared right now, I mean, we've talked about this all weekend, and with participating streamers for a while now, the one step ahead training is really, really useful, especially if you're a streamer. It can make you feel more prepared to field situations and questions. And maybe, Havok, you can talk a little bit about the role in Discord, for instance, that we've been handing out.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, I just want to say that the program is fantastic. Like it is like Bogle was saying, but also it takes the fear of the unknown out of it, because
For sure.
that is a really scary thing if you don't know, how to talk to somebody you think might be at risk for suicide. And I really appreciate the way that this training was set up, because walking away from it in this event, I felt confident in my ability to talk to anybody from there, and I don't shy away from it. And I've seen that work for other people in the community as well. In our Save&Raid Discord, if you are participating in the event and you show me your certificate for completion of that course, you get a special role in there, which is kind of a way to honor these pillars of the community. People that have taken it upon themselves to be prepared just in case. And it's not just the people that take the training. Those people, or the people that do take the training, they can, without another person taking the training, they can give that knowledge to them. And Eric, you compared this to...
Yeah, I mean, I will say this, is that, we spend lots of money every year training tens of thousands of people on how to do CPR, right? The idea is it's intervention, right? It's to get there and to help somebody who is in a life-threatening situation and give them the basic skills on how to save a life. Yeah. And we teach people who are not doctors, they're not EMTs, they're not medical professionals, they're average, ordinary people just like the rest of us, right? So that if you find yourself in a situation where somebody needs that life-saving technique, you're trained to be able to do that. And in the same way, doing the One Step Ahead program is kind of the suicide prevention version of CPR, right? Which it's teaching you how to have a conversation with somebody who may be contemplating suicide. And more importantly, once you've had that conversation, what do you do with that information, right? Because, it's tough enough to go talk to somebody and ask them if they're thinking of harming themselves, if they're thinking of hurting themselves, thinking of suicide. But then once you've been given that answer, what do you do next, right? And so, that's the important part of One Step Ahead.
Yeah, and what's nice about One Step Ahead is, toward the end of the training, you get an opportunity to practice that skill. Yes, it's a game simulation, but hey, you guys are gamers, you get it. And that's a really unique feature of Save's particular program. But this information is out there. It's not proprietary to Save, how to save a life. But this training, it's accessible, it's free, it's online, it's less than an hour of your time. So I highly recommend, go check it out.
Yeah, and we can have people post links in chat related to that for
That'd
sure.
be great.
Yeah.
And you get a cool certificate at the
Get a
end.
cool certificate.
To print that, put it on your wall.
Frame
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
it, put it on your desk.
So we've been talking for about 20 minutes now, so I want to reiterate that there's a challenge going on. You are being challenged by Eric. I've seen a lot of donations come in. I think we are currently at about 300 already.
Wow.
In the past 20 minutes.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
This is a thing that...
My ears are at risk.
This is a thing
I've heard it before.
that I've learned a long time ago, and it's like never challenge chat. So good job. But we're not there yet. So we need about 200 more before the end of this hour. And we will not just match that $500. We will also get to hear what I'm sure is a lovely
It is amazing.
national
It
anthem
will
It's interesting.
change your life.
by an amazing
Change your
voice.
life.
Will you do it in a heavy Minnesotan accent?
Everything I do is an
No.
Sounds good. Something that we've noticed more recently that you've been working on is you're working with other organizations to make social media platforms safer for people and kids especially, and other tech company products. Can you talk more about COSA and the Minnesota's Kids Code, for instance?
So kind of come back to this concept again of the 4 pillars of SAVE, right? Education, training, advocacy, and support for suicide loss survivors. Education really is at the core of what we do, which is kind of sharing information, making people understand what are the different factors that go into situations related to suicide. Training is things like the One Step Ahead and other programs like that to give people the tools on how to address those issues. Support for suicide loss survivors are things. We have an event called the Suicide Awareness Memorial that we're bringing back. It's an event that we haven't had, I think, since 2019. And it's a program that's really directed towards suicide loss survivors in that community, to bring them together, to give them the opportunity to kind of, bring kind of life back to those names and the faces of those who died by suicide. And the other piece is the advocacy piece. And so Jen has been doing a lot of that locally in Minnesota with the Minnesota Mental Health Legislative Network. But the other 2 key things that we're involved with both relate to making efforts to make social media platforms safer, primarily for kids, but really for everybody. There's 2 key pieces of legislation that we've signed on to, along with the JET Foundation, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, Active Minds, and hundreds of other groups. And it's called the Kids Online Safety Act. It's a federal bill that right now has 64 United States senators signed on to it, Democrats and Republicans. And anybody paying attention to politics in America today, anytime you get 64 Republicans and Democrats in the U.S. Senate to sign on to a bill, probably tells you that there is a bipartisan commitment to moving this and to trying to make social media platforms safer for kids. In Minnesota, there's a bill called the Minnesota Kids Code, which is really intended to put social media platforms on alert that when they are developing and creating their platforms, that they have to do it in a way that is safe for kids to be able to use. Both of these bills are not about content moderation. It's not about restricting kids' access to social media. But what it is doing is it's saying, look, they can't be mutually exclusive. Kids need to be able to have access to social media platforms, but those platforms have to be safe for their mental health as well. And we've got to be able to do both. And I'll be very candid, is that social media companies have not been particularly responsible in this space. And so they are fighting both of these bills on both the federal level and a state level. And what we're doing in Minnesota, they're trying to do in about a half a dozen other states. So it's not just Minnesota that's focusing on this. But at the core of who we are as an organization, it's about suicide prevention. And as Jen rightfully reminds us all the time, is that suicide is complex, right? There is no simple reason why people die by suicide, and there's no single method of preventing it. But clearly the data and the studies and the evidence are showing that the increase in access and use of social media has had an impact on kids' mental health. And we've seen an increase in suicidal ideation. We've also seen this increase in suicide as a result of that. So from an advocacy perspective, we believe getting behind these bills is consistent with our philosophy about who we are as an organization committed to suicide prevention.
Something you said to me in a previous conversation we had, it was the way social media puts it on the parents to be like, you guys need to moderate the content. We're just a tool. We don't have the ability to whatever. Well, we know that's not true because they can, look at, like I said yesterday, they can look at the size of our browser window and figure out basically who's using the computer. So they know how to advertise to every single different person that uses even, every computer or mobile device or whatever. Like your habits, they feed into the algorithm and they make a pattern of you. And I'll never believe that they don't have the ability to tell who's a minor or an adult or, so I feel like they have the tools, which means, as you've said, that they have the responsibility to harness that and, do the right thing that isn't profit driven.
Yeah. And I would say this, is that this notion that parents are supposed to be the gatekeepers here, that genie's been out of the bottle for decades, right? I mean, we all have cell phones, right? Kids these days all have access to laptops and iPads, right, as a part of their learning environment. So this notion that parents should be the ones that are the primary protectors of kids' online activities, I think is something that is a distraction.
Yeah, and it's something that I think a lot of us are familiar with because it gets brought up still a lot by big video game companies when we're talking about microtransactions and getting people hooked on spending money on video games and getting specifically kids hooked on spending money on video games that parents don't know about and how that is, how they're basically dodging responsibility there. So it's, Yeah,
and I want to emphasize again is that our goal here is not to restrict kids' access to social media. It's not to restrict kids' access to gaming, right? But technology exists. We know it does. That these companies, and whether it's Meta, whoever you want to talk about, right? The technology was there to create these platforms and to create the targeting and the algorithms. The technology is there for them to make it safer.
Yeah.
The question is whether they're committed to doing it or not. And I would say that clearly, we saw a couple of weeks ago before the United States Senate Judiciary Committee, you've still got social media platforms that refuse to accept their responsibility related to the products that they're putting out there. And we feel as though we've got the ability to lend our voice in a responsible way to highlight the fact that doing nothing is not an option. The idea that there is no harm being committed is simply not true. Content moderation, other types of gimmicks that are out there are things that I get them, right? I understand they're a public relations effort on the part of a lot of those social media platforms. That's fine. They can do those things. But at the end of the day, it's about the algorithm and the code. You got to fix those. And if you don't fix those things, then you're not fixing the core of the issue and the core of the problem.
We have a question up on the screen there. Is there any effort being made to take COSA legislation internationally? I don't know. Have you heard anything about that?
That's a great question, and the answer is yes. And I would say that the Minnesota Kids Code itself was initially modeled, it's not the same, but it was initially modeled after an effort that was made in the UK. And so this concept of algorithms and codes and designing products that are safer really, again, started in Europe and kind of migrated here to the States. So those types of efforts are being done really globally. Because this isn't just an issue here in the United States. It's really a global problem.
Sure.
If you look at when social media kind of came online and became public, I mean, you really can't ignore the evidence, right? It's like I say, where there's smoke, there's fire. And the reality is that as social media became more ubiquitous, so too did the impact that it had on mental health, and increases in mental illness, and also increases in suicidal ideation. And that suicidal ideation comes about from all sorts of facets around social media, sextortion, exploitation of kids from different social media platforms, the products and images that are put in front of kids as a result of the algorithms. So we have an opportunity to change the direction of how social media is being used responsibly to help save kids' lives.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Yeah, I'm very excited to follow the development of that. You shared with us an ad that was put in the
Wall Street Journal.
The Wall Street Journal. Yes. That was very powerful. I don't know if anybody's seen that. I can post it in the Discord if people are interested. But that was that was a lot.
Yeah, I mean it was it was an ad in which there was over 200 parents who had their kids' names and who have died that they believe was a result of some interaction that they had with social media.
Yeah.
And many of those parents were at these hearings in Washington, D.C. last month before the Senate Judiciary Committee. And those stories and those names and those families are starting to speak up. They're out there being heard. They're out there having a voice. Mm-hmm. There's another issue that we've gotten involved here recently as well. There's a parent whose daughter died by suicide associated with a bridge in Minnesota. And so Jen and the rest of the team are getting involved in that conversation about how can Save advocate in this area of conversations about safe structures and things like that too. So this advocacy element for us really kind of expands broadly, I would say, as mental health as kind of the primary driver.
Yeah.
And then as you look at kind of tactically, where can we get behind initiatives tactically to kind of help support that?
Right, and where can we serve as a voice for those impacted by suicide? It's really exciting. I mean, you can tell from Eric's passion, like this is a really cool space for Save to be moving into, the advocacy space, just something we haven't really done or focused on in the past. So
Definitely.
We're excited to be building out our policy platform, and so keep an eye out for more on that.
Sure.
It's far more proactive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I love that.
And
Especially-
possible change on a large scale, right? We're changing systems here, so it's
for sure. And I mean, I especially love the proactiveness when it comes to basically not sitting back and letting for-profit companies figure it out themselves. Because I don't know, this is a personal view, I suppose, but they have not really shown us that they can be trusted with that often. So.
Last thing I'll say on this. So I think you guys know this, I spent a significant part of my life and career in government and politics on a local, state, and national level. And I will always say this, is that if you ever want to know kind of where things are at as it relates to why public policy is not changing or why it's going in a certain direction, follow the money. And I will tell you that the money that's being put into stopping the Kids Online Safety Act, the money that's being put into trying to stop the Minnesota Kids Code is absolutely breathtaking. Yeah. I testified at a hearing in Minnesota last week, and the number of lobbyists that were there representing big tech versus folks that were there to testify in the Minnesota Kids Code.
Sure.
As somebody who's been in that space before, I was pretty blown away by the number of powerful lobbyists in that room.
But don't let that be a deterrent. Your voice still matters.
Absolutely.
No, of course. I mean, that is not surprising. It's a little depressing, but it's not surprising at all.
I raised that, to Jen's point, is that it's all the more reason why the voices of those parents and other people and these hundreds of organizations that are mobilizing around us are all that much more important. They are moving the needle to get the 64 United States senators signing onto a bill wasn't done by a big lobbying firm. It was done grassroots level, moms and dads, kids saying, we need to fix this. So it does make an impact. So people's individual voice makes an impact.
Yeah. Yeah, and to bring it back to what we're doing, I mean, not to blow our own horn too much, but like stuff like this matters, right? Like the stuff that we're doing, I really want people to feel good about that, because it definitely does matter, even though compared to maybe some other events or compared to things that aren't on Twitch, we are, I don't know, small fry, I suppose. But that does not take away the impact that we can have and that we do have, and that's part of why we're partnering with Save for this, because we feel that that's the best way to do that.
Every year, that's a thing that we visibly see, from what you guys share in the Discord to PMs that we get, or to how people interact with each other in their own streams, and it's amazing. And just, you guys are rock stars.
Yes. Oh,
like
God, yeah.
everybody that participates and views this event, like, you guys are walking away from here absolute rock stars. Yep. There was a question here added to the previous one. Is Save using social media differently or using new virtual approaches to reach people? I mean, Save&Raid is definitely one of those things.
Yeah.
So I would say our use of social media over the last 6 months has amped up considerably. You guys have seen that.
We've noticed that.
Right?
Yeah.
And partly because of our partner that we work with, the Social Collective. And that's by design, right? The goal here is all about communicating kind of mission, communicating programming, communicating education. And so, again, it kind of comes back to our philosophy. Social media has a positive role to play in society and in life. Okay. So we're trying to leverage the positive aspects of that. That also goes to the advocacy piece, right? We need to leverage social media to help raise our voices, to support suicide loss survivors, right? That's also a key piece of it. Even as we talk about changing we have something in our office called the named memorial. And even as we think of technology and social media and digitization of how do we change that program to better serve the suicide loss survivor community. So I think we're learning all the time. I will tell you, we've learned a lot from this event in the last 6 months. A lot, right? Watching, the other thing I will tell you that has been incredibly impressive to us is every streamer who has been on, whether they've done it for 4 years or done it for the first year, talks the talk, right? They talk about safe messaging, right? They talk about their own experiences with mental health or with suicide. I think that's enormously powerful. So what you're doing throughout this 60 hours you're doing this is impacting people far beyond the streamers that you have on here.
And then there was another question up there about the memorial event. Is there one in Florida? Right now it's based in Bloomington, Minnesota is where the in-person event is, but we're working with partnering with an audiovisual company that will stream that event for us. So you should be able to tune in. But again, check our social medias to stay updated. Things change very quickly at Save these days. But yeah, hopefully we'll be able to stream that event. We have about an hour-long program as part of that, where you'll hear from some survivors. We might have some musical guests as well. So tune in if you can.
I feel like things have to change quickly, because things in the tech space and the social media space change so quickly as well. You have to stay on top of that.
We learn something new every day about all sorts of things. That I think is an important part of any nonprofit organization. Is you've got to be willing to look at what's being done out there, what's new out there, what's the change in the subject matter environment, and what's a better way to reach more people and make a greater impact. And so I think for us, the more we can learn about what other folks are doing in that space, the better we're going to be at what we do. I'll tell you, one of the greatest assets that I think anybody can bring to the table is knowing what it is you don't know. Mm-hmm. And as long as you understand that your overall mission isn't to be the biggest, it's not to be the most popular, it's to make the most impact. I think that's what we try to operate by, is this philosophy that what we want to do is do things the right way for the right reasons to make the biggest impact.
Have we acknowledged that we hit that 500?
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
So you gave us an hour to raise 500,
Huh.
and it's been 40 minutes, but we had already done it within 30. So,
But it's like teetering right on 10,000.
I mean, that is true. We said 500, but it would be good
Wow,
if
it
we,
sure would be nice if you kind of...
if we cross it
Nice
11K.
rounded number.
What I want to know, and don't take this at all seriously, is how much do we need to raise for it to make a duet with Jen?
No, absolutely not. No.
You know what? That extra $30,
No. Extra 30.
you could hum.
300 maybe. Maybe.
Oh, there we go.
That
Challenge.
seems low.
Challenge.
That seems low.
I've never done a live stream, let alone sing on a
mean-
live stream. That's a lot.
You're doing great. Don't worry. Don't worry. I do want to reiterate, though, that it's not just that challenge. I mean, we did great, and I'm very excited. I'm looking
Yes.
forward to it.
Thank
We
you
got
all.
a
That's
little
awesome.
little mini concert. But we have also been challenged by the board of Save to make sure that we raise at least $15K before the end of the event, and then they will add $2,000 to that. And just because we're also streaming on Save's Facebook, most of you know this already, of course, but go to save-and-raid.org, click on the donate button. It goes through a site called Tiltify. That's a platform that people use to raise money for charities. We do not touch the money. It goes directly to Save. You can pick some really cool rewards for your donation if you want. And yeah, donate often, generously, responsibly, you know. No, I think that I'm undercutting it by a stupid joke, but donate responsibly because, you know, we don't want anyone to get in trouble. And I do want everyone to know that, you know, following this event, viewing, participating as a streamer, sharing this event on social media with your family members, with your friends, tell your dog. It's so important to help this event grow and become more successful, but also just in terms of giving people access to, this space, basically, where we are making what is a difficult conversation, we are making it feel more approachable, and that is actually helping people. So thank you all for that, for sure.
I want to spend a couple minutes talking about Green Bandana.
Sure.
Because I think that one's a really cool and powerful tool. And I'll let you guys tell us about it.
Yeah. So the Green Bandana Project, I don't know if we need to get into the origins of it, but it's a suicide prevention program for college and high schools, where really the main objective is to encourage students who are struggling with their mental health to reach out for help. And the way they can do that is, or one way we help increase that help seeking is we educate them about their resources that are available on their campus or within their school, whether that's the counseling center or other resources. And participants in the Green Bandana Project are, they take a short orientation and a training, and then they carry a green bandana, which signifies that they're a safe person. They've gone through training, destigmatizing training. They're a safe person for you to talk to, and they can help you get to that and connect you to that resource.
Is that similar to the One Step Ahead training, or is it a different?
No, this is entirely different.
Okay.
This is a coalition of students getting together on their campus, saying that they need change. They want to create an environment where it's safe, and they feel that it's safe to access resources on their campus. So yeah, this is quite a bit different.
How many universities and colleges have this program going right now?
I think we're up to about 50 schools, 50 colleges and universities, and then I think we have a handful of high schools. We're really focusing on colleges right now. We're revamping that program. We'll relaunch in June, kind of start a new cohort for the 2024-2025 school year. Adding some cool features like a self-led orientation. giving access to training so they won't have to go find that themselves. So we'll be relaunching that in June, and then I think we're going to start talking about how can we get this idea into other groups and organizations like law enforcement, firefighters, even hospitals could be a potential place.
And what about putting it in the digital space for anybody around the world?
That's a great question. Maybe you all can help us figure out how to do
I'd
that.
love to. I would love to.
We've definitely talked about that a bit already since we've heard about this, and it does seem like something that could mean very much on, for instance, a platform like Twitch, for sure. Does this new sort of relaunch, does it come with another new website for us to harshly but fairly judge?
Yes.
Very exciting. See? And this is exciting stuff.
Yes, we will also have a new website that will probably launch closer to the end of July.
Okay.
Yeah, and the goal here is with the relaunch is to really kind of scale this. And again, as we talked about this, I think we're in 20-some states right now with those
22 states.
22 states with these 50 college campuses. We get a lot of college campuses that are interested in this, and we want to make sure that when we relaunch this, that it's reflecting the substance of the need that's out there, and so that what we're putting out there in the universe is something that we feel as though we put some real kind of hard effort in tools in there, so that it's more than just kind of an awareness type of thing.
Right.
So I think, to Jen's point, love to work with you guys on about how can we talk about digitizing that, how can we get that out into the digital world, because that then obviously makes that scaling element of it that much more successful.
I've already seen in the chat window over here so many people saying that they absolutely would like that. They're so in.
Yeah.
I think we can get like a lot of people on board with that for sure.
And I just saw it go over 11,000, Jen, so you'll have to hum.
Maybe we can maybe sway in the background.
Right?
Fine.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you. What else we got? What else we want to chat about?
I think we've talked about a lot of things. There's one question still up on our monitor. Maybe you can read that.
We'll save that to the very
that.
last before we do the last thing. Okay. So something that I want to be really kind of, I can't say this enough. On behalf of the organization, on behalf of the staff, our board of directors, we are privileged to have a lot of folks that do events and activities on our behalf. We've got, I shared with you guys yesterday, we have a local family in Minnesota that does an event called Natasha's Ride, which is done as a dedication for a young woman who died by suicide in their family, does this motorcycle ride, raises a lot of money for Save, but more importantly, it raises, again, the work that we do in the mission. And so as you look at things like Save&Raid, I've said to you before, raising money is awesome. We'll take the money, whether it's $1 or $1 million, whatever it is. And if you can't help financially, help by spreading the word. That impact of going out and talking to people, the more that we can educate people, give them access to One Step Ahead, get them out there into the world, helping to save lives, then we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. And each of you who've been involved with this, every single streamer, everybody who's watched it, I can assure you that you are directly and indirectly helping save lives. Can't say that often enough, can't say that loudly enough. And so for us to be able to be here physically with you guys has been amazing, but to be able to be with everybody in this kind of streaming world has been a remarkable opportunity for us to learn about those different voices and how each of them can help amplify the work we're doing. So can't thank you enough. Can't tell you how proud you all ought to be of what you've done.
Yeah.
It's really incredible.
Well, thank you so much. We're certainly not done yet.
And how did you earn your nickname? I'll tell you what, we'll save that for next year's Save&Raid event. After we got to know
now
each
I'm
other
really
a little bit.
curious. Doesn't anybody want to know where I got my name?
So the question is Darth Vader, which is Eric's nickname in Discord. How did you earn your nickname? Instead of an answer to that, I will tell an anecdote of when we were recently talking, and we were talking about the fact that your nickname is Darth Vader, and that we like that very much.
Oh no.
And then, yeah, Artyom hates this. I know.
No.
I will keep it brief. I made the unfortunate choice to compare you to a space Nazi. And then I got a stern talking to from artyomhavok, who was like,
Why did you just call?
we want to work with these people. What are you doing?
So,
and I feel like I feel like I was joking.
I do know you're joking.
Good.
I will tell you that.
Oh god.
So that story isn't as serious as it sounds, but it's one that I'll share next year. But suffice to say that the older I've gotten, the less Darth Vader I've become. So I'd like to say that I'm much more kind of Han Solo and Luke Skywalker these days, and a lot less Darth Vader.
Maybe a little chewy.
A little bit of Chewie,
Nice.
and
Do it.
once
Do
in a
the
while,
noise.
I feel like a little Yoda.
Maybe a little Yoda.
Little Yoda.
This is just one of the many things in my campaign to get artyomhavok back for a specific thing that maybe we can talk about now before we get into,
do you want to talk about that?
Into
Well,
the
let's
singing?
let's do the singing. We'll use these
No.
mics for that.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
The singing. Well, the singing. It's
Do
one
we
person.
do we get music or is this a cappella?
Well, no, it's a cappella.
Oh, no.
But do you
Does
have the lights? Will the lights go?
Come
Does
on,
it
you have
do
to join in.
I can make the lights work with sound.
Does it
Can
does
you?
it come with music?
Well, you don't
Yeah.
want the music. And I've got to start
I want the
low.
music.
gotta
I
start
want
low.
the music.
Okay. All right. All right. Here we go.
5,
So
6.
there was no promise that it was going to be done with any level of professionalism
I like
beyond.
that.
I will say this: you got to take your hats off.
I feel like I'm betraying my own country right
Okay.
now.
No, you're not.
No.
All right. I got to start low. Okay. Oh, say, can you see? I just lost the words.
Bye.
Oh, my goodness
You're a
gracious.
professional streamer now.
Oh my gosh.
Tech issues.
I've lost power.
Yeah, my laptop.
Oh
ran out of
no! I'll
power.
pull it up.
Oh no.
Oh,
And I
the laptop
started-
screen went off?
I
Oh,
started
man.
perfectly on the right
This
key.
is embarrassing that we need this.
I got
Well,
it here.
I don't
got it
wanna-
here. Here, I got it here.
Okay.
Just make
All
sure
right.
to move it so that it doesn't.
All right. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you.
The dog just came in here and was staring at us. Like, no one sings in this house.
Thanks, everybody. We hope you enjoyed that as much as we enjoyed that.
Oh, that was wonderful. Okay, so we got one more.
One
thing.
more thing.
One more
Yes.
thing before we raid into the next streamer, which is
Where's the list?
Nukem.
Is
No,
Nukem
Nukem.
Pod 9?
Yeah, it was
Great,
Nukem. Yes.
Great. Okay.
Awesome.
Here's what we're gonna do. Vogel, we're up on this microphone now.
Okay.
So yesterday we revealed the artwork for Legends 1, which was 2 years ago. Okay, Legends is a chat-dictated nonsense story filled full of typos that I presented as a milestone challenge for him to read if we reached a certain amount of money 2 years ago. And it is bad. The reason for this is because he always corrects my typos and grammar, even when I don't want him to. So this was a little bit of a revenge tip.
Yeah.
And also,
Or-
maybe the most important thing I do on
From my perspective, when you read Legends, you understand what it is to work with
Donation
Havok on a project.
received.
That backfired hard.
Yeah.
So, this is the cover art done by Tuigia, a good friend of ours.
It's so good.
This is the cover art to Legends 1. He hasn't seen 2 yet, but here's Legends 1. This is The Cures of Grandma's Legumes. That's right, that's Legends with a U.
Nope.
Oh yeah, the titles almost have nothing to do with anything in the story. Nothing here is to make sense.
Exactly. But it is wonderful. The clip of my reaction to seeing that for the first time is on the channel.
Yes. Isn't that anything?
Oh yeah, you have to read it out loud with a serious face and he can't laugh.
Yeah, because we raised 10K.
He'll-
I'm gonna read that out
Yeah.
at the end of the event.
So he'll be reading Legends
And
2.
I'm gonna hate it.
Harry Beardman raises. Yeah, that's raises, not rises.
Yeah, of course.
And of course, he's Harry Beardman, and I'm R30 in the legend, so you'll know who the characters are. But so we're about to reveal.
Oh God.
We're about to reveal the cover for Harry Beardman Raises. Are you ready?
No.
Oh my.
That is so much worse / better than the first one.
So I just want to point out
Why don't
that
I have nipples?
that this takes place in Chernobyl, naturally,
Okay,
right?
Of course.
And in
That's why I lost the hair.
in Bogle's hand, he's holding my shower faucet,
Oh yeah.
and here I am with the keyboard getting ready to type Legends.
Oh God.
Tuigia had knocked these out of the park.
So this was my favorite thing ever. This is now my favorite thing ever.
And of course, Bogle has copies of these.
Yeah, they're gonna go
Yeah.
up on my house. My wife will love that.
All right, Snookum ready to go. So yes, tonight at the end of the event when we're done, he's gonna read it at the end. After we do the wrap up, that's how we're gonna close.
Yes.
Save and Raid for sure.
So make sure to go to saveandraid.org, donate, get us to 15K before the end. We have about 12 hours to do that. And we will get another 2K in save board matching money. You're all doing great. Check out the website as well for milestones and incentives. And check out the merch, because look how cool everybody was.
That's right. We all look cool.
I got crap from Taya for not wearing the correct t-shirt. I'm wearing this one.
You're wearing both T-shirts.
Look how-
Amazing.
Look how cool that is. Get that, and all the proceeds from that will go into the campaign, for sure.
All right.
Thanks,
That's
everyone.
right here.
Thank you, Jen and Eric, for doing this.
Thank
Yeah,
you guys.
thank you
Thanks
so much.
everybody.
Everyone.
Thanks for listening to us sing.
There really was a highlight.
that was
pretty good. Yeah. All right, I'm hitting the raid button. I love you all, and I'll see you later tonight. Plus, we'll be there all night. We're having the watch party in here.
Oh, for sure. We look so happy.